been slayed. Now we're talking about the crumbs. So we're in a little bit different ballgame where, when we go look for quality improvements, it's not near what it was. Are there still quality issues? Absolutely. So like, if you ever played that game, video, or the game of if you go to Chuck E. Cheese or what have you, they give you a big mallet and the little monkeys or something pop up out of the hole and you got to hit them on the head and they go back in the hole, but you never know which hole the monkey, whack-a-mole, little things come out of there. All my international friends are like, what is it? What are you talking about, this whack-a-mole? But picture this series of holes out there, and you got this big mallet, and the mole is coming up out of these holes. You don't know which hole, but you're trying to hit it. And I think that's where we are now. We don't know. We've basically solved most of the problem, but there are some that are still coming up at random that you're going to figure out and solve. So another advantage, what you're hoping is that you get that ownership and commitment that I spoke of earlier. That's going to take a while to get there. I was noticing something that we mentioned in our class, a couple weeks ago, that no one was wearing red. Right? And then I made a challenge to the class to wear red, and we had maybe 4 people. Okay. But if you're coming from an international location and you've only been here a few months, your team spirit for Lamar is very young. Right? You have you're just starting your affiliation with the school, right? Now, once you've graduated and you got your graduate degree or doctoral degree or undergraduate degree, I think your affiliation and team spirit is going to be much higher. Would that be fair? That we can go onto your Facebook site and we're going to see red Cardinals everywhere. You'll be wearing a red shirt in your Facebook picture. The Cardinal right here. Go out to your car, there'll be red Cardinals all over it. Right? It takes time to build team spirit, agreed? And there's nothing, it says, I want to build an increased feeling of team spirit and ownership. That doesn't take a while. Okay? Well, but you're hoping that you're going to use the talent and expertise that you have to solve the problem at hand. I know with the team I'm working with, all of them, with the exception of maybe just 1 or 2, are on the shop floor making product every day. They're not engineers, they're not bachelor degree people, but yet they know what's going on at the daily operations. Right, and then you wanted to use their knowledge of the equipment and how things run out there to make changes. That's what you're hoping. Okay? By using that, we're going to have different perspectives on the problem. You're not just getting engineering's perspective on quality issues. You're getting perspectives from the people who work on the equipment, who produce the product. And hopefully, you're getting better quality decisions because I've got detailed information. They know that equipment, they're working on that equipment 8 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week or more. They know what that equipment will do or not do. They have a very detailed experience with it, and that's what you're hoping to gain from it. Here's an important one. It says increased buy-in, and what they're meaning there is commitment. Increased commitment to a solution. So there's some quality problem. There's a solution to that problem that's been suggested and recommended, and maybe they implement that. And it may not always be the best solution, but it's one that they are agreed upon and think is a good idea. Right? And so, if you're management and it's a reasonable idea, it may not be the best, but it's reasonable and they're in support of it, you probably want to let them run with it. Particularly if they're a fairly new team, because if they're an experienced team and you have a better rapport, that's one thing. But if you're thinking about getting from here to Houston, there's several ways to get there. Right? I could ride on Highway 90, or I could go Highway 10, or I could go 105 to 59. I could take a helicopter. I could go to the airport, get on an airplane and fly there. All of those have different expenses, have different risks, have different benefits. Agreed? If you're traveling from Beaumont to the airport, 105 to 59 is not a bad way to go if you've ever gone that way. If you're going to go watch the Houston Texans play football, you're probably going to want to go I-10. I mean, those are different. Houston's a big place, but you could argue if I'm management and the team wants to go to the airport, but they've picked I-10 to Beltway 8, which is a way to go. You could go 105 to 59. That's another way to go. They could be equally as good. Maybe one takes a little bit longer. But I'm telling you, even if you would have chosen 105 to 59 and they chose I-10, you might want to let them do it because they are supporting of that way of doing it. They have their reasoning. Maybe they feel like it's an interstate road. It's got a bigger shoulder. It's a safer place. Who knows? If you go 105, what's the danger? Who's been on 105? Who knows? It's Joey. What's the danger of 105?
It's just a small two-lane highway.
Yeah.
And it's not the best condition in parts.
In parts may not be the best condition. And Teresa?
You get stuck behind somebody moving slow and you can't get around them.
You could be stuck behind somebody slow for a significant period of time. If you're traveling in the wee hours at night, there's another hazard. Deer. I know I won't travel certain roads after midnight. I live in Lumberton, and getting up there, you don't want to go down certain roads. 105 probably one of them. After midnight, not the best choice. Hit a deer at 75 miles an hour. It's not going to be a pretty situation. But getting back to our talk here, they're going to come up with solutions that they are committed to, but may not be the best necessarily solution. But that's okay. That's what I'm trying to point out to you as managers, future managers. Don't get too upset about it. If it's reasonable, let them do it. Okay. Now, hopefully, once the team is going, you can focus on something else. Now, some of the disadvantages is decisions are going to take more time because people are discussing their points of view and discussing the issues. But that's why you set up the team to begin with. You're going to have them address things that take a lot of discussion. You're not going to have them address things that are very trivial and easy to solve. Okay. You're going to have some dominant personalities. You can see even from our class, there's some people who raise their hand and talk, and some people who haven't said a word all semester. Yes? So you've got people who are natural communicators and people who are not. True? Yes. Okay. Some people may not feel free to participate. Maybe they're supervisors on the team and they really don't feel like they can say what they want to say. Or they don't trust people on the team. I can't be free with my conversation because I know they're going to go tell the boss. That's a possibility. I always think back, I was on a team where the owner's daughter was on the team. Well, no one's going to say a word in that room. Right? No one. Because anything you say is going to go back to the owner. The owner's daughter's on the team.
Unless she establishes early on that she's going to, she has a different mission. And, like, if she's willing to criticize things that have happened, every once in a while you see something like that work, but not very often.
Not in this case. I promise you. I promise you. Okay. Some potential for groupthink where you're basically coming down to ideas that we can all agree upon, not the best ideas. The example might be if we were trying to find a restaurant to go eat, we might pick a cafeteria because they have a wide variety of food, but typically the quality in a cafeteria is poor. If you picked restaurant with a particular narrow menu, the likelihood of the food being better is a lot higher. Are you with me on that? Just try our cafeteria. It's okay. It's a lot better than back in the old days, but teams need time to develop. We've talked about that. It's going to be a period of time. They have a lot of resources and the time, money, and people. If you look around the room and there's 8 to 10, 12 people there, all drawing a salary, sitting around a table talking about a problem. They're not producing product. They're not doing engineering work. They're working on this task. So it's expensive. You hire somebody like me to come in and lead the team and train people. I'm not cheap. Right? So those are things that are involved. Right? Some of your additional management duties basically just is providing resources and guidance and coaching and all that, but I don't know if that's necessarily a disadvantage. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of this, and I'm going to get y'all to, we're probably going to break here in a minute to talk about team leadership. We're going to answer some of these questions as, what do I need to do to prepare for teams? If I want to do teams, what do I need to do to get ready? Well, how are my responsibilities going to change and so on? To set up our next team activity here in class, I want to address the team leader, and we're going to break here in a second and let y'all start working in groups. And this was probably test material, if I cannot recall. I'm pretty consistent about saying this. If you have a team that you're putting together, whether it's a project team that you were talking about or a permanent safety team or something like that, I have found that one of the most critical decisions is who's going to lead it. And you're wanting, ideally, someone from the more operational level of the company to rise up and lead that group. You prefer it not to be a supervisor, if possible, not a manager, but have the team composed of people from the operational level, which might include engineering people relatively early in their career. I mean, engineers that stay there very long are going to be engineering managers at some point. So once you become a manager or a supervisor, probably don't want that person on the team, at least the ones I've been experienced with. So picking a person to lead the team, and I'm saying don't leave it to chance. Many times it's great to offer volunteer opportunities. Would you like to volunteer to be part of the team? Okay. You might get a whole slew of volunteers and tell them only a limited number will be selected. Okay? And so if I'm the manager and I'm organizing this team and I've got 15 people who have volunteered, I may just pick 7 or 8. Maybe pick some from every area of the organization, nice equal representation. It'd be great to pick some male, then some female members, some young members, older members, people who've been with the company a very brief time, people who've been with the company several years. As much as possible, a mix. Okay? But you cannot leave the leader decision to chance. You can't bring those people in for, let's volunteers, and then have an election of who's going to lead. Not going to work. Okay? As setting up these teams, I think it's highly, highly important to pick somebody going in that's going to lead that group. Maybe you go speak to them in advance. Say, look, I really would like for you to lead this group. Would you consider leading this team? I'll send you to training. I'll mentor you. What have you? I see this as a path to your growing your professional skills and potentially becoming a supervisor. Whatever you envision this person, maybe talk to them early on. Gauge their interest. Because you've got to, and I'm going to let, as a class discussion, figure out what type of person do I want to lead the team. That's going to be our class discussion here in a few moments. But I'm telling you up front, and I've been consistent years past of saying this, is you can't leave it to chance. You can't leave it to an election. You have to pre-select that person. I was visiting with the leader of our quality team yesterday, and we were discussing the possibility of her stepping aside and letting someone else lead the team going into 2014. And she and I were thinking about, well, who would take over? Oh, well, who do we have? And that was the immediate discussion. Who is ready? Who's been on the committee for some period of time that is now ready to step up and lead? I don't know. We talked about it for probably 30 minutes, and at the end of the 30 minutes concluded there is nobody really ready. And it's not so much that they're ready, but if you're running equipment, it's very difficult to have time to do other things such as plan meetings. Not to say it's impossible, but there's a conflict there of, do they have time? They have to be given time off of their regular duties to run teams and whatnot. I still think there's a couple that might be willing. I'm not giving up the fight yet. I think there's a possibility. So we can't let the team decide, because we've got to have a very competent leader. Okay. So what will happen on the website and what's going to happen here in class, we're going to talk about what characteristics do you want for your team leader. You're trying to select someone. What are all the characteristics you're looking for in this person? And you're going to make a huge, long list. At least 20 items. At least. Okay? That's a bare minimum. Okay? And then we're going to practice a swarm and tally exercise so that you can be exposed to a team decision-making process. Okay, so I don't really care for our face-to-face students. Get in groups of 2, 3, or 4. I'm not going to set the groups. And try to identify a good long list of this is the characteristics of an effective team leader. And then we'll come together again to do our swarm and tally. Questions? No. Awesome. All right.